Good morning, Smashville! That is right, ladies and gentlemen. It is another edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We are live from the BMW Atlantic City Studios here in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. And we are brought to you by the Skinzano Sports Center located in 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.skinzanosports.com. Do not adjust your laptop or computer screen. We are not on video this week, technical reasons, but still, no matter what, we will be back next week on video as
different day as well.
Different day as well. Also, yes, do not adjust as well. This is actually happening. We are live on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday.
Well, there's happy hour every day, so
course,
we could really go on any day, and it's more apropos, after Game 4, be able to look back in this series and then move on to Game 5, which will be tomorrow night. Since there's so much bloody time between games, maybe it paid to come on a little day later, a little closer to Game 5 action.
I like it. You want to know why? Because you're right, Rob. There is a lot of time between Games 4 and Game 5, which will be tomorrow night, not tonight, but tomorrow night, as the NBA Finals is tonight. And if you really do want to watch that, then, good for you. Congratulations. I wouldn't be caught dead watching it. But anyway, so with that all being said, though.
Charles Barkley either.
Yeah, apparently. Hey, you can't. There's a lot of things that Charles Barkley says that, quite frankly, makes you wonder if he's even intelligent, but this is one of the things that proves that he might just be. He actually picks out a really good playoff, which is the Stanley Cup playoffs. Thank you very much. The real playoffs. Thank you very much. Now, moving on. Speaking of the real playoffs, the Stanley Cup Finals, it's in full swing, folks. And games 1, 2, 3, and 4 are nothing like each other. As a matter of fact, games 3 and 4 are actually the most in common and pretty much dominated by the same team, whereas games 1 and 2 were pretty opposite. One was a come-from-behind victory. The other one was a blowout. And then since then, we've had blowouts ever since in the Stanley Cup Finals. But it's been weird. It's been shifting back and forth with home ice advantage as Pittsburgh got the first 2 wins in Pittsburgh. They pulled a come-from-behind victory as Nashville had tied the game up. And then at the very last minute, Pittsburgh managed to score a goal and survive, taking a 1-0 lead in the series. Then they dominated, outright just whipped the Nashville Predators in Game 2. And then Pekka Rinne had his revenge. The Rinne strikes back in games 3 and 4 as Nashville wound up taking not 1 but 2 straight games back on home turf, tying up the series in Smashville. And now we come back to the Steel City where we have Game 5 between the Penguins and the Predators. Let me tell you, this Stanley Cup Finals is already exciting. I mean, you go back and forth, back and forth. Home ice seems to be the major story here, and, as you were saying off mic, Rob, goaltending.
This is the obvious statement, that it's been a tale of 2 series. You have the 2 games in Pittsburgh versus the 2 games in Smashville, and we're just going to continue calling it Smashville, especially after that video we pumped up with the couple making out behind the reporter. Kudos to that broadcasting company for not pulling away. That was great, and actually addressing it a little bit. But anywho, back to my point. Yes, obviously Pittsburgh takes games 1 and 2. Nashville takes games 3 and 4, both home ice, both winning. But you look a little deeper into it, and the real story is the goaltending. That's how it's been the tale of 2 series. I want to pull up the stats just really quickly here, but what I'll speak about, what I'm getting to, is that Murray was lights out in Pittsburgh. I think he let up 4 goals and 48 shots. I'll verify this information. Don't crucify me, people. Right? And then Game 3 happened, and he let up 4 goals in 14 shots. So just a complete Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde for Mr. Murray there. And then Pekka Rinne, who was horrible in games 1 and 2, actually hearing the clamorings of going to their backup, which, if Nashville goes to their backup, this series is over. Pekka Rinne has to be your MVP if Nashville is going to win this series. There's no 2 ways about it. I don't care what you say about their forward talent, their defensive talent with Subban. It's all on Pekka Rinne. And he was withering under the lights in Pittsburgh and let up like I said, I'm going to get up the specifics here in a second, but let up a crap ton of goals in games 1 and 2. 3 and 4, totally different story. He replicated the excellence that Matt Murray did in games 1 and 2.
Well, what I think really did help him, too, was also obviously home ice. You come back to your home turf, you're comfy there, you're at your place. Everybody's there in a sea of gold and blue. Not gold and black, gold and blue with that piss yellow that they like to wear. And, you know, you sit there and you're thinking, okay, we're at home. Everything's going to be a little bit better. Even Nashville's defense played a lot more solid in those 2 games. I mean, game 2, they played very bad, and it just looked like Pittsburgh was going to just take this and run. But then you started seeing the defense get things under control. PK Subban leading away in that. Not only that, you also had Pekka Rinne just being lights out, like you said. But that home turf, man, you cannot underestimate it. You come back home, you feel more comfortable again.
Yes.
And once again, you're like, all right, they played a little game with us out in Pittsburgh, but they're on our turf now, and we're going to set the standard, and we're going to dominate. And they did just that in 2 straight games. So credit given to Nashville rebounding after taking 2 tough losses, especially after game 1, which was a heartbreaker when you came back and tied the game only to lose it at the last minute. And then game 2, you get absolutely punished and just absolutely ran out of the joint. You come back to Smashville, and you get 2 straight wins, and there you go. Now you're right back in this series, and it's anybody's series now going into Game 5 back in Pittsburgh.
And that's what I apologize for. Last time we were on these airwaves, I expected Nashville, because they're going to compete. They've been a great story. They haven't been just the Cinderella story. They're a strong team. I expected them to come out in Game 2, tie up the series there. But I had said that Pittsburgh was going to win not 1 but 2 games in Nashville based on the power play stats. Pittsburgh had been phenomenal on the road power play wise. Nashville had been horrible at home. That's always the stat I immediately look towards. And of course, in game 3, Pittsburgh goes 0 for 3 on the power play, and Nashville goes 1-1, just to counterbalance every freaking thing that I said last week. And also won games 3 and 4. Here's the difference, Matty, though, and here's the thing I didn't factor in: how tough of a building Nashville has been. Apparently, Frank Vespi from The Fix has been saying, no, it's always been a tough place to play. I've never seen it until these playoffs, but when they get those chants rolling, holy shit, man. I mean, you'd think they have a microphone, but they're just in that unison. Man, I don't know about the team, but that fan base deserves the cup.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying on that one. The whole thing about it is that, we see about, how Nashville handles their business and everything, and the way that they were just able to take advantage of their home turf and be able to say, you know what, it's no big deal. The stats are the stats. But they've been able to defy the numbers all of the postseason long. You go into that first round, again, yes, Chicago wasn't themselves, I'll admit. But Nashville managed to shut them down, make them take control, and handle their business appropriately. Along with that, then you go into the next round, and St. Louis, which kind of had a shaky getting into the playoffs anyway, they managed to shut them down. And then you go into that Western Conference Finals, and there's your first real test against the Anaheim Ducks, a team that had snapped their Game 7 losing streak, had really taken advantage of beating down 2 young, hungry teams in Calgary and Edmonton, especially Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
And with all that being said, they survived Western Conference Finals battles with the Anaheim Ducks, went to the Stanley Cup Finals, and sure, they got rocked in the first 2 games, but they rebounded in a big way. And now it comes down to Game 5. Can they take advantage of the fact that they were able to turn the series around and be the driver and be the momentum pusher? That's what they've done. They've taken the momentum away from Pittsburgh. That's not an easy feat to accomplish, because Pittsburgh, when they get a hold of a series, it can very easily be a rout real fast, because Pittsburgh is that kind of team. We saw it in the Columbus series. They took the initiative, they took the momentum, and Columbus never got it back. They lost it, absolutely, completely lost it. And then you go to the Washington series. Pittsburgh Pittsburgh basically had the series lead. Washington had to build themselves back, and then in doing so, they go to a Game 7, and they managed to, cost themselves the eventual Game 7 scenario that they had set up for themselves. And then you go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they just went back and forth with Ottawa, but they managed to hold on to the series. They didn't lose it. They fought back, and they got control, and they didn't lose control over it. And that's my point. Pittsburgh, when they get a hold of a series, it's bad news. It's bad news for any team that's got to compete with them in the Stanley Cup Finals.
I'm afraid I have some bad news.
Yeah. And that bad news is that Nashville, they really rebounded very well from Pittsburgh and said, you know what, no big deal. Pittsburgh has got, Pittsburgh is in trouble if they can't rebound from this, if they can't get control over the series. Now, is that at all possible that Pittsburgh can't get back in control of the series? Oh, yeah, it's possible. I'm not saying that, but Pittsburgh does need to they need to rebound. They need to rebound here. They have to win Game 5. You cannot afford to go down 3-2 heading back to Nashville.
Well, they're going to have every opportunity to because of a point you put up before about how much time between games. I mean, Nashville really got the momentum back in this series, and now they have 2 days off. That only hurts the Predators. Getting back to my earlier point, Maddie, about the tale of two series between the goaltenders, here's what it looks like, folks. Here's the exact numbers. In Games 1 and 2, Murray had 60 saves with 4 goals allowed. Not 48, like I said, 60 saves, 4 goals allowed. In Games 1 and 2 for Pekka Rinne, 28 saves, 8 goals allowed. Absolutely awful. Wound up getting pulled in Game 2, which brought up that clamoring of and it was foolish talk. Like I said, you're not pulling Rinne out of that net all series. He's your man. Now, he's really backed that up. He's backed up Lavi's confidence in Games 3 and 4, has made 50 saves versus 3 goals allowed, opposed to 28 saves and 8 goals allowed in Pittsburgh. Matt Murray also has made 50 saves, only now it's his turn to allow 8 goals in both Games 3 and 4, not including the empty net in Game 4. So it's really, can Murray get back to form in Pittsburgh? That'll be a big storyline for Game 5. Can Pekka Rinne play in Pittsburgh?
I mean, that's the big crux of the situation for Nashville. For Pittsburgh, it is rebound. For Pekka, it's okay. I need to be as good as I possibly can be. As good as I possibly can be in Pittsburgh. And, he wasn't. He wasn't in the first 2 games. And he knows that. Or he should know that. As a professional, you should know this, obviously. The question is, can he make that appropriate adjustment and say, yes, I can do this, and I can handle myself in Pittsburgh? Sure, the first 2 games happened, but you know what? They're in the past. You can't change what happened in Games 1 and 2. You can only change what happens in Game 5.
No, sir.
And what matters is that the series is tied. And guess what? If he manages to shut down Pittsburgh in Game 5 and plays lights out, I don't like Pittsburgh in Game 6 in Nashville. The way Nashville has played in their home building, it's not looking good for Pittsburgh if they lose Game 5. It's as simple as that. If they want to repeat, they have to win Game 5. They have to get another game in Pittsburgh. They have to get Game 7 in Pittsburgh.
Game 5, usually Game 5s are always the biggest game in any series, in any sport. We got NBA Finals going on, too. I don't know if they're even going to get to Game 5 because the NBA is a watered-down product, but that's a story for another show. Game 5 is just absolutely crucial for Pittsburgh, to your point. You don't win at home, and now you're down 2 games to 3 going back to Nashville where you pretty much got embarrassed. 2 games. They really took the level of play to you. Don't get me wrong. There was a chance where they could have came back in Game 4, 3-1 entering the third period, and Nashville just pumped the brakes in their own defensive zone, killing any threat that Pittsburgh could muster, and then getting a couple goals of their own to really put the nail in the coffin there. So my point is, Pittsburgh wins Game 5. Then you go to Nashville, and it's like, okay, well, maybe we can win the cup here. Anything could happen, but at least we can go back to Pittsburgh Game 7. Pittsburgh loses Game 5, and it's a wrap.
Yeah, that's just – now, again, I'm not going to automatically say that Pittsburgh's doomed, but again, you are putting yourself in a huge mountain situation.
They will be rendered obsolete.
Yeah.
That I know for a fact.
I mean, let's look at it this way. Nashville has been lights out in their building. They have played solidly on the defense. Pekka Rinne has been phenomenal on home turf. Pittsburgh has to have a Game 7. There has to be one more game that will have to be played in Pittsburgh if you want a shot to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. They have no choice. They have no choice. Because of the way they performed in the last 2 games in Nashville, they now have to look within themselves and say, okay, we got to defend our home turf. We have to get a Game 7 no matter what happens. I mean, if you can win in 6, great. But at least you have a Game 7 to fall back on. Now, also, Game 7 doesn't necessarily mean that Pittsburgh's safe. Because the way Nashville, and here's the reason why I bring that up, because of Game 1. Game 1, yes, Pittsburgh had the lead, and they had the lead for the entire game until the third period, until Nashville came back, fired on all cylinders, and managed to tie the game up. And sure, at the very last second, which will make or break a team in a Game 7, don't get me wrong, Penguins managed to score a goal and win the game. How often, though, does that happen? That's a little bit of luck right there going your way. That doesn't necessarily – Lady Luck, she's a cruel mistress. One day she may be on your side, but another game she says, fuck you. And then next thing you know, you lose the game.
Absolutely well said. Well, I mean, now, besides this series, Nashville's been winning clutch road games all playoffs long. They started off this playoffs, let's not forget, winning 2 games on the road in Chicago. Another tough place to play.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago, one of the tougher buildings to play in the United Center, one of the loudest buildings in the NHL, and they managed to shut it down, and they managed to handle themselves very well. And then they go up against St. Louis, which is not another easy place to play because St. Louis has got a fan base as well that's pretty ravenous. Anaheim, they're a great team, and they've got some great ability to them, and we'll talk about their coaching situation a little bit later on in the show. But Anaheim, they were looking like a team that could very much go into the Western Conference Finals. But again, Nashville was able to upset them too, and turn that all around. So, I mean, they've had tough opponents all throughout the playoffs, and they've managed to beat them in their buildings. So it's not like Nashville, that winning on the road is a strange thing to them. It's not. They've had to accomplish having to win on the road because they're the lower seed. They've had to accomplish this feat. Now, as you go through the Stanley Cup history, too, 8th seeds usually don't technically win most of the time, 90% of the time, and they've never really won the Stanley Cup. Now, the closest that anyone ever got as an 8th seed was Edmonton when they went back in 2007, or, 2006, Carolina versus them, and they went to 7 games, but Carolina managed to win. They may be able to be the first 8th seed, technically 8th seed, in NHL history to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and boy, would they deserve it. I mean, the road that they've gone through, no doubt about it. Now, going back to the Pittsburgh side here. Oh, go on.
I'm sorry, I'm going to correct myself. They'd be the second team to do it since Los Angeles. Anyway,
Los Angeles did it, in 2010? No, not
2012.
2010. Duh. I meant to say 2012 there when they really came limping in, just got that A seed, and then Jonathan Quick got hot. That's all that story.
Had to correct myself because I wasn't going to get my ass thrown over the fire there for that one. But
the
anyway.
last 2 mistakes were allowed. It's tough for doing a 2-man job today. But going back to the Pittsburgh side, though, right? They win Game 5 at home, which they've looked pretty dominant in Games 1 and 2. Now, that puts Nashville in foreign territory. They haven't been in a brink game, in an elimination game where if they don't win, they're out. Will that say a little something about their character? I mean, based on what I've seen level of play, I think they play the game just like they do anyway. But you don't know. When the pressure's on, that's when you see champions and that's when you see chumps. And as much as we hate Sidney Crosby, he is a champion. He is a champion. He rises in those moments. Evgeny Malkin, when he's not trying to stick check fans in the arena for throwing a towel at him, rises up to the occasion. Who's going to rise to the occasion on the Predators side? I leave that question to you, Maddie.
That's very interesting because of the fact that, their offensive powerhouse like Ryan Johansson is currently still out. But you know what? Mike Fisher's back as the captain. He's been back, actually, as captain. But one of the things that I would say is PK Subban. I think he would rise to the occasion on that one. And he has in a lot of ways.
So many blocked shots. I thought he was hurt bad.
Yeah.
Oh, he caught one bad on the inside of the shin there, but he was out next shift. Love hockey. Love hockey.
Yep, very, very true. Very, very true. Hockey players, like I said, they can get their head cut off and they'll just, screw it. They'll stitch it back on and go right on out, even if it's backwards. Don't matter. With that being said, I think PK Subban would be one of the major players that would rise up to the occasion. I mean, you could obviously throw a Pekka Rinne, but let's try to say somebody not a goaltender. Because goaltenders are clearly got to be one of your major MVP players if you want to win anything anymore. Yeah. But PK Subban is one of those key players that without him, you kind of wonder how far could Nashville survive without their defensive quarterback right there. And he's been their quarterback for that defense, and he's led the way in not just the block shots, but he's been leading in offense too. He's gotten so many scoring opportunities, a lot of them getting through, deflection-wise or not deflection-wise. He's set up great offensive plays. No matter what, PK Subban has been a charging force behind Nashville, and not just this series, all of the playoffs. He's been a part of that defensive unit, either being offensively attacking or defensively standing tall.
Check out Brian. He couldn't join us today, Wednesday. Unfortunately, he's got to work the day job very begrudgingly. And he posts the show on the page, doing his part outside. Hopefully he can call in later. That would be great.
Yeah, that is true. Hopefully he can call in later because we are going to be talking about his team, the Ducks. He'll get a chance to still flap his duck wings and talk about the coach of the Anaheim Ducks somewhere down the line on that one. And actually, this one is interesting. We got a comment on our Facebook link here, and it's from David Navo.
Navo!
Formerly of A2DRadio.com, former on the station. Do you think Pittsburgh has a chance to win in Nashville if they are up 3-2 in the series in Game 6? Yes, they do. And here's the reason why they do. As much as I'd like to say, Rob pointed it out earlier, when the pressure's on, we find out who's champs and who's chumps.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh are proven. Pittsburgh has won games on the road. This is nothing surprising. And another perfect example, let's go back to Game 7 in Washington. Now, don't get me wrong, the great performance by Fleury that shut down Washington in that series cannot be denied. But Pittsburgh did rise to the occasion. They scored first. They set the early precedent, and they managed to hold down Washington throughout that entire game. So I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Pittsburgh does have a shot to win in Game 6 if they go up 3-2 in Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, if they could go up 3-2.
They have a shot, you're saying?
They have a shot in Nashville, is what I'm saying, if they go up 3-2 in Game 5.
Oh, if they go, yeah.
That's what the question is. So,
Gotcha. Oh, understood. So, in other words, sorry, I got a little lost in the minutia of the show.
Okay. That's all right.
No, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's a different situation. Now, it's very similar to Game 3. Mm-hmm. You're going into Nashville down 0-2, being the Predators. There's a lot of pressure on that game, too. You don't win Game 3 at home. You're down 3-0. Not many people have come back from that, Flyers. And not for a Stanley Cup, though, mind you. But so they've experienced that pressure a little bit, but I think it's still different than you lose today. Not only are you going home, you're one step from drinking from the cup.
Yeah, very, very true. Yeah, it's interesting because Game 5, like I said, if Pittsburgh does wind up losing, you go back to Game 6 in Nashville, you're in trouble. You are in complete trouble because you absolutely want a Game 7 to fall back on. Again, not a guarantee, but I'd rather take a 50-50 coin toss than a, 60-40 chance that we walk away with a win out in Nashville, Mm-hmm. I'd take those odds any day of the week.
Twice on Sunday.
Yeah. Meanwhile, if Nashville loses Game 5 tomorrow night, Nashville's just going to have to rebound big time, and it's going to be a test on them again where they're going to have to say, okay, we still haven't solved Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, and we're going to have to wait till Game 7 to do that. But I will say this. If they manage to rebound, Game 7, anything can happen, like we said before. But if Pittsburgh goes into that Game 6 with a lot of momentum and they dominated Nashville and Pittsburgh again, Nashville is in a lot of danger, even if they're in their home building, because you can crumble real fast because you realize, oh, shit, we lose this game, we go home.
Right.
You know, you got to keep that in mind, too, because that's the first time elimination factor is going to get put into play here. See, the other games, yes, they're important because they're Stanley Cup Finals games, but no one's at risk to getting eliminated. When you went into games 3 and 4, no one's at risk to getting eliminated. There's that feeling in the back of your head. It's like, okay, I'm not going to get eliminated if we lose. We can rebound. After Game 5, there is no such thing.
We could rebuild.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Another question coming in, does the winner of Game 5 win the Cup? My answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe if Pittsburgh wins, Game 7, Pittsburgh manages to take the victory. If Nashville wins, Game 6, it's all over. Nashville's going to win the Cup for the first time ever.
Yeah, keep these wonderful questions coming in, peoples.
But with that all being said, though, as the series has gone on, we've talked about the Conn Smythe a little bit. We've even made it a Twitter poll question at once or twice. I got to ask, Rob, out of all the play you've seen from both Pittsburgh and Nashville, who do you think would deserve to be the Conn Smythe Award winner? Whomever would win the Cup. If Pittsburgh win the Cup, who would be your Conn Smythe?
Okay, so that answers my question. I was going to say who deserves it or who's going to get it. So who do I think?
Yeah, if Pittsburgh won.
If Pittsburgh won, I think it's going to go to Malkin. He's led the playoffs in points. I'm going to bring that up. I mean, last time I checked, he was leading in points. Jake Guentzel, who I think really deserves it as a rookie, eyeing, setting an all-time rookie scoring record in the Stanley Cup Finals to not only tie but pass the legendary Dino Ciccarelli. He does that. How could you say he doesn't deserve? I had an argument online about this. How do you say that he does not deserve the Conn Smythe, breaking that record as well as score? At that point, would it be in the 13, 14 goals scored during these playoffs? So I don't see how. But I do see how, because Gary Bettman's in charge, and you got to have the face. Just like WWE with John Cena and Roman Reigns, you got to have the face. So it'll be Evgeny Malkin, if not Sidney Crosby himself, but I'll go with Malkin.
Yeah, all right, then. Now, my pick for if Pittsburgh was to win would actually be Jake Guentzel.
Yeah.
That was actually my pick. Because, honestly, though.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
That's all right. No big deal, though. Point, though, is that Guentzel would deserve it 100% because in a lot of ways, without him, he's that clutch player that comes through. Like Brandon Rust was last year for Pittsburgh?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Guentzel is this year.
Right.
Guentzel has been that clutch player. He has scored those major goals. He's been that underlying factor in a lot of ways for this Pittsburgh team. It hasn't just been Crosby, Malkin, and the average every, happy-go-lucky guys that you get on Pittsburgh that just score even if they sniff at the net. Guentzel is the other major part of it that I think a lot of people seem to forget. That he's such a major, major piece to that Pittsburgh puzzle.
Absolutely. 13 goals he has at this point, 7 assists, 20 points. So, like I said, 14, 15 goals, or maybe he gets the points on the assist side, whatever that looks like. You break that record. How do you not give it to the kid? Well, this is how. And this will be the only thing that I'll defend Bettman on and for the rest of my freaking life is that Malkin has 26 points in this playoffs. Crosby has played 24 points, has scored 24 points in that. That would be deserving consistency throughout that, specifically 9 goals, 17 assists for Malkin, 8 goals, 16 assists for Crosby. And you know what? This is the first time that I've seen Crosby actually playing like a leader. Taking the hits, not whining about it so much, dishing it back out, doing the hard work in the trenches, because that's been Nashville's MO against them just as the Senators started, where you just make them in front of and uncomfortable in front of that front porch, something that other people in the league, respecting him as a name, as a face, try to stay away from. They've been bruising him just like he's, Mike Knuble, battling up in that paint. So, and he's been taking it and having playoff success. So, any one of those three, I could see a reasoning why, but who I think will get it, Malkin. Who I want to get it, I agree with you, Matty Guentzel.
All right, then. So we got our Pittsburgh picks for the Conn Smythe. Now we go to Nashville. Who would win if Nashville was to win their first ever Stanley Cup? Who would get the Conn Smythe Award? Now, I'll start this one off.
Go for it.
My actual pick would, believe it or not be Pekka Rinne. It'd be PK Subban.
That's a good pick.
I mean, all honesty, because you got to think about it. Sure, Pekka Rinne makes the flashy saves, and he's the big part. But think about this. He's had bad games.
Right.
He's had games where he's gotten blown out of the arena. PK Subban's been consistent throughout the playoffs. He's been solid on the defensive line. He's set up great offensive opportunities. He's been a part of many goal-scoring moments. PK Subban's been one of the most important, if not the most important player that's not in goalie pads on this Nashville team. You could say Ryan Johansson, who's one of them, but the thing is Johansson's out for the Stanley Cup Finals. So how can he be? He can't possibly be a guy who's in the running.
No.
He would be if he was here, but he's not, You could say Mike Fisher, but Mike Fisher hasn't really done a whole lot of flashy anything.
Except Barry Carey Underwood. That's about it. True. That's the flashiest thing Mike Fisher's done in his life. Maybe he deserves it just for getting that tail.
I guess. But, I mean, on that, though, being said, though, Mike Fisher being the captain, he is the leader of the team. And when you do think Nashville hockey, besides PK Subban, Mike Fisher does come to mind. But at the same time, though, again, I just say out of consistency-wise, with Pekka Rinne having his inconsistent moments every once in a blue moon here in the playoffs, I got to say PK Subban because he's just been consistent throughout the entire playoffs. And I know defensemen usually aren't heavily favored to win the Conn Smythe. 90% of the time they don't win it. But I would say PK Subban deserves it this year. Out of all years, he actually deserves it this year.
Yeah, no, I could see your point. But I'm going to stick to my guns. I've said it before. Nashville wins this series. It's because Pekka Rinne is your most valuable player. I just have to stick by. I can't come out and say something different. You make a great argument, Matt. Don't get me wrong. And like I said, the block shots alone, has been absolutely stupendous.
I mean, it could be either one of those guys, and it could be either one of the Pittsburgh players we picked. There's a lot of guys that are available for the Conn Smythe because a lot of players have come through and have led this far to it. And it can happen any time of the year where you can have any kind of player get the award, with the exception of some years like Los Angeles where clearly it needs to go to Jonathan Quick because he obviously won that Stanley Cup for them, clear as day. But that's a different story for a different time. Either way, the Stanley Cup Finals are still in full swing. Game 5 is coming up tomorrow night. Do not miss it, folks. And don't go anywhere because we will be right back. We're going to take a quick break from the Stanley Cup Finals, but don't worry, we will go back to it and we will preview Game 5 and we will give our predictions and our scores and we will say what will happen in the Steel City for Game 5. But first, we will take a break and go around the league and talk about certain situations going on in the NHL. But first, do you want to treat your skin with the best nutrients and feel clean with the only soap you'll need? With the highest grade carrier oils that are ingrained with all their products and that are 100% natural, well then you need to contact the Soap Stash today for your sample package and give your woman what she deserves because you don't want to be stinking up the joint after you've had a long, long day. And ladies, you don't want to do it either if you've had another athletic display in your own right.
Yeah, that's right.
You can contact the Soap Stash at 844-890-3197 or you can visit them on the web at www.soapstash.com. And you can visit them on Facebook at Soapstash LLC where they like to place your orders. They would prefer you to do it that way. They'll have other specials coming up. Their special did end not all that long ago, but they'll have other ones down the line. But either way, though, give them a call. Great soap product. If you want to be clean, go to Soapstash. This is the Hockey Happy Hour on A2DRadio.com, and we will be right back after this with more Stanley Cup analysis and more NHL hockey action, yo. A2DRadio.com is sponsored by the Sports Outlet for all your sporting needs. Located 703 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, New Jersey. Give them a call at 856-939-2030 or email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit them on the web at www.sportsoutletinc.com for all your sporting needs. The Sports Outlet.
A2DRadio.com is proudly sponsored by Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants. Gibson Mayer, located in Yardley, PA, is a leading accounting and business consulting firm with a proven track record of handling critical issues with expertise across many different industries, including construction, distribution, hospitality, manufacturing, real estate, service trades, merchandising, professional services, and professional athletes. Give them a call at 215-369-3300. That's 215-369-3300. Your initial consultation is always free, and if you tell them that Tom and Mike from AM and the PM sent you, you'll receive 15% off all income tax services completed by February 15th. That's Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants, 215-369-3300, or visit them on the web at www.gibsonmayer.com. That's gibsonmayer.com.
Hey, do you need to get your skills in shape? Then contact the Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com. John Scanzano offers individual, semi-private, and team training lessons in hitting, pitching, catching, outfield, along with turf rentals. The Scanzano Sports Center is equipped with a 31,000 square foot indoor facility, 4 batting cages, and a 4,000 square foot strengthening and conditioning room. So what are you waiting for? Contact the Scanzano Sports Center today.
Fellas, you ever come in from that baseball or football game and your woman won't come near you because you stink beyond belief? Then you need Soap Stash. You should never settle for a generic hygiene product that only covers up the stench. Treat your skin with the best nutrients. Feel clean with the only soap you'll need. The highest grade carrier oils are ingrained in all of their products, which are 100% natural and terrific for your skin. No sulfates, parabens, or phthalates, and synthetic fragrance free. Contact Soap Stash for your sample package and give your woman what she deserves. You can contact Soap Stash at 844-890-3197 or visit them on the web at soapstash.com or Facebook at Soapstash LLC. Once again, their number is 844-890-3197. Soap Stash, the new soap standard.
You're listening to the Hockey Happy Hour, only on A2DRadio.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hockey Happy Hour. We are live from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios here in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. And we are brought to you by the Sports Outlet for all your sporting needs, located at 703 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, New Jersey. Give them a call at 856-939-2030 or email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit them on the web at www.sportsoutletinc.com.
Got a couple of people chiming in on the YouTube here as I fade that out very terribly. Doing double duty here, folks, producing and hosting. But, you know, we're all world here at A2DRadio.com. There's nothing none of us can not do. That was 3 negatives, so I think that made it a positive.
I think so.
Yeah. We got David Roska chiming in, saying Pens will win the series despite losing the last 2 games in convincing. Well, I'm adding this. He just said Pens will win the series despite losing the last 2 games in convincing fashion. Yeah, you know, they still have home ice, 2-1, so I get his point there. Tommy A. also going with the Pens.
I mean, it's not a bad bet. I mean, obviously, Pittsburgh's not out of the series. You know, I mean, clear as day. it's just one of those things where you'll find out who the winner will be. You'll find out who the champion will be. Game 5 will pretty much solidify who that person will be at the end of the day. Game 5 this year, particularly, unlike last year. Last year the Stanley Cup Finals was done in 5. So Game 5 really was irrelevant because it was Pittsburgh's victory parade pretty much. Well, actually, correction, San Jose did manage to push it to 6, but really, that was a hollow victory at the end of the day because, quite frankly, Pittsburgh just had that series in the palm of their hands, and it was never really lost at any moment. San Jose was just overpowered by Pittsburgh. I mean, this series is a little different, though. This Game 5 is extremely important because Nashville is actually playing even keel with Pittsburgh right now. They are not overwhelmed by the offensive power from Pittsburgh. They are not panicking with the offensive power from Pittsburgh. They just seem to be able to be calm, cool, and collected. And albeit they didn't show a whole lot of that in Pittsburgh, we'll see if they can rebound on that. But I can understand picking the Pens because how can you bet against a team that was the defending Cup champions last year, dominated this year in the Eastern Conference playoffs, albeit they had a couple of tough problems here. They had a snafu against Ottawa, and they really had a tough time against them, but they managed to survive that and survive. And against Washington, it took them a little bit longer than expected, but they still managed to do what they always do against Washington, and that's beat them. And they breezed right through Columbus like a hot knife through butter. It wasn't that hard, It's not hard to pick the Pens. It's definitely not. It's not a bad choice to pick the Pens neither because they're not out of the series by any stretch of the imagination. So I know the Flyers fan in me would like to say, "Oh, they're doomed," but no, I can't say that.
Well, I mean, bottom line here is that you said, they're not afraid of measuring up, nor should they be. There's talent on this team. The issue here is that in the Nashville side, there's a lot of underappreciated players. You got Philip Forsberg, really young talent in this league, 16 points on the playoffs. Roman Josi, and that just ties me into that complete defensive side of the puck for Nashville Predators to combat these, Phil Kessels, Hornquists, Malkins, Crosbys. Their defense, you're looking at Yossi, Ellis, of course, Subban, Ekholm. Ekholm, despite having a very undisciplined series, still has played that tough, hard-nosed, get in your face, and that's what you need when it comes Stanley Cup Finals time, playoff time in general as well. And then, Matt Irwin. We know Matt Irwin from San Jose days or whatnot, real character guy. These are all underappreciated players that, have really been contributing well. Colton Sissons, another example. So they shouldn't be backing down from Pittsburgh at all. You know what I mean?
No, they won't be, and that's definitely not what's going to happen in Game 5. But I think But again, understandable why you would pick the Pens. The Pens, like I said, they're proven. They're not the underdog here. They're the champions. They're the defending champs, and they've got a lot of fanfare behind them. But at the same time, like you pointed out, Nashville, they've got something going here, and they've got something really good, and they've been on even keel with Pittsburgh ever since that series shifted to Nashville, and now it's anybody's series.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, we're going to steer away from the Stanley Cup Finals for just a quick second, but don't worry, we will go back to the Stanley Cup Finals, and we will get started with a little bit of what's going on around the league. And Rob, what's our first topic for the day?
Well, I'm going to bring it back to the Flyers a little bit here.
Course.
Now we're only 2 Flyers fans here, no Ducks fan today. Love you, Ryan. I already told you so. But big news today. Flyers named Chris Knobloch. Any relation to Chuck, I wonder now. Flyers named Chris Knobloch assistant coach. So for everybody out there that was clamoring for Hackstall's job, well, you're going to have to wait at least one more season. But what this hire tells me is that, you don't start turning this club around, Mr. Hackstall. Here's a guy that could really fill in admirably for you and is already getting familiar with the system as an assistant coach. Forget about that he said, she said bullshit. The fact is this is a great nom by general manager Ron Hextall. Just to give a little background in case you don't know who Chris Knobloch is. He's coached in the Ontario Hockey League in the juniors for Lake Erie for the past 5 seasons. He won the Matt Layden Trophy as OHL's Coach of the Year in 2016. In his first full season as head coach of Erie, he led the Otters to the best regular season record in franchise history at 52-14-2 on the season. The Lake Erie Otters have been in good hands, and they're going to be missing him because he's been an outstanding coach. But what their loss is the Flyers' gain.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it is kind of a tough loss there, but at the same time, though, the team kind of took a step back this year. They didn't make the playoffs. So I can understand that, Hextall doesn't want to regime change it with coaching immediately, but he does want to tinker with it a little bit. That's understandable. You want to tweak it and tinker it until you get it right.
Sure.
And the same thing with the players, obviously. If you got to get rid of players like Matt Reed, and, you got to send certain players away like, Andrew McDonald. And you got to take care of some of those certain little nagging problems and just to fix where the team's at, because unfortunately we did take a step back this year. We didn't make the playoffs. I mean, let's be honest, though. If we had made the playoffs, how far would we have gotten? Depending on who we faced, it wasn't going to be an easy challenge. We were either going to wind up facing the Capitals or we were going to end up facing the Montreal Canadiens.
I think we could have gave the Habs a run for their money, though.
Probably.
I still say that.
Yeah. You know what? We actually own the Habs in the playoffs.
Right.
Oddly enough, we beat the crap out of them the last 2 times we faced them in the playoffs. I don't know why, but we just do for whatever reason. But anyway.
Absolutely. What I like about this guy, Knobloch, 38. He's actually just a little older than me by like 2 months. And more youth, more new style of thinking to help support Hackstall, who, how old is Hackstall again? I know obviously he's a young man, but I'm going to look that up real quick here. But what I do like is this great comment from 48. He's 48 years old. So, he's not a spring chicken, but still a younger coach in this league. And now you have a 38-year-old to back up the 48-year-old. That's great depth even on the coaching standpoint. Hextall comes out and says, Chris had a great success at the junior level with the Erie Otters and Kootenay Ice. He's coached a lot of good young offensive gifted players. We feel he's a good fit with our group, and we're excited to have him in our organization. I'm very excited not only for a chance – that goes into his quote. Let me end that there. What's great about here is that he's a great fit because what this tells me is that the floodgates are open now for the Phantoms. The youth is going to start coming up, and you got a guy that's coached these guys in a junior level before, has played against some of these guys, not physically, but his team against the other team. So he'll have familiarity. Also, he'll have be a little bit more in touch with the younger athlete and really coax them along into, an NHL professional career.
I like that. We want to see more of that because we want to see the young bucks get developed properly. And, they've been spending a little bit too much time for some of them in the Phantoms than we would like them to be. But if they can come up and they have a coach, like an assistant coach like that can easily kind of transition them into the NHL game and get them really comfortable with the game. Because the game's fast, it's hard-hitting, and you got to be big enough to handle the hits because there's some big guys rolling around the NHL. I like the idea that you can have a coach like that who can comfortably transition these young guys into this game. Maybe that was what Hextall was waiting for this whole time, to get an assistant coach that could easily transition them. And if that's the case, then bring them up. Please bring them up. We have been desperately asking this for the better part of 3 years now. Please, someone bring more young guys up. We want this team to get younger. We want this team to get more fiery. We want to get this team to get more passionate. We want this team to be the Flyers of old, so we can get back into the playoffs and not just say, oh, well, it was great getting here, but we're going to get eliminated in the first round. No, we want to be able to say, hey, we got in, and now we're going to make everyone pay for getting in. That's what we're going to do, and we're going to go for the Stanley Cup. That's what we want the Flyers team to get back to.
Rosca, you're killing me, man. He's coming up with great questions here. David Rosca again goes, who should the Ducks get in the offseason? Brian's off this week, man, so we'll have to save that question for next time.
Well, maybe not. How about go getting Alexander Ovechkin?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest here. Sure, you have to give up some players for him, but I mean, is that totally a bad idea to look at Alexander Ovechkin and put him in an Anaheim Ducks jersey? I don't know. Just a suggestion, possibly.
I think you just got Brian a little too excited if he's listening. No, he's at work right now, but he'll be listening later, and he might have to go relieve himself in the bathroom for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what the bathrooms are for.
Awesome.
But either way, though, I mean, that's pretty much the only answer I got. I mean, I can't really think of too many players that they have to go out and get because, I mean, the Ducks, relatively, all in all, they're not bad. I think they just had they kind of choked a little bit there in that Western Conference Finals against a good Nashville team. I mean, don't get me wrong. Did they do what a Washington Capitals team did? No. But, yeah, I mean, hindsight being 2020, I mean, they probably should have beaten Nashville. But, hey, you look at it this way, they're still not a bad team. Let me stretch the imagination. I mean, tinkering-wise, I would only say you have to tweak a few lines here or there, but nothing too serious. You don't have to make a big splash. Not if you're Anaheim. You still got a really good, solid team.
Right.
So I don't really think there's anything too much to tweak, to be honest with you. That's the honest answer I could give. But anyway, with that being said, one thing, by the way, keep the questions coming in. We love them.
Yes.
But either way, though, one thing I do want to bring up before we go on to more stuff around the league. Guess who's a huge fan? And I did not realize this until literally just looking online for about 5 seconds. Charles Barkley is a huge fan of Ron Hextall.
Yeah.
And the Philadelphia Flyers.
Well, yeah. He's Sixer roots, you know what I mean? I could see that, and he's developed a love affair with the NHL game, maybe because the NBA playoffs are so bloody boring.
Well, apparently, the very first time, Barkley was born in Leeds, Alabama, and he said his earliest hockey memories were watching the Birmingham Bulls of the World Hockey Association, which was the rival league of the NHL back in the day. Yes, the NHL did have a rival league. It was not just the NHL. Eventually, the WHA did fold because of their cap and their salary inflation because they would pay these guys exorbitant amount of money, and then eventually the league had to file for bankruptcy because what a shocker. You overpay guys, and next thing you know, the league can't afford anything.
Right.
But anyway, that's what eventually would lead to teams like the Hartford Whalers coming into the league. The Edmonton Oilers came in through there, the Winnipeg Jets, the original Winnipeg Jets, and the, who was the other team? They're still around, too.
Say your question again?
It was the WHA teams that came over. It was Edmonton, it was Winnipeg, it was Hartford, and there was one more team that came with them.
Was it Calgary?
No, it wasn't Calgary. Calgary came over from Atlanta. They were in the NHL prior.
Right, gotcha. Oh, right. Yeah, Atlanta Flames, Calgary Flames. Right.
I'm trying to remember the team. Hey, you know what? It'll come back
Canucks?
to me.
No,
they were in the NHL. There was only 4 teams, and I'm trying to remember the other one. You know what? It's going to come back to me when we're off the air. It's going to.
You sure it's one that's not in the league anymore, like a Seattle team? Like I know they had one.
Oh, it's the Nordiques. It was the Nordiques.
Oh.
That's who it was. There we go.
Another team that's not in there anymore.
But thank you for bringing it up because I don't know why. Seattle triggered me to think of Colorado, and then it jumped out. Oh, it was the Nordiques. Duh. But anyway.
That's what I do, baby. I stir the pot, just like Frank Vespi stirring the pot on Facebook. Commenting, who will win Game 5, which is our poll question. You go on Twitter, Facebook, vote, comment. We'll get to your results later on in the show. We're going to get to your comments right now, Frank. Les Predators de Nashville will be winning a Game 5. Hashtag stand with us, which is certainly a tag that's been going around along with Smashville. He's very Predated up this. I don't think it's just the lobby connection with the Flyers. He has a love affair with Nashville. I think he was in that video. He was the guy making out with the chick behind the reporter. It was Frank. I knew it. I knew that motherfucker looked familiar.
We should buy him a catfish. But anyway.
Yes. He'd get arrested.
But
I saw Jeremy Roenick diving in the river for catfish. He's a freaking loon.
Well, that's why we all love JR.
Yeah.
We didn't love Jeremy Roenick back in the day.
No doubt about it.
I'm so proud to say he was a former Flyer. It's so awesome to say that he was a Flyer at one point. But anyway, with that being said, though, Barkley, though, it's great to hear that he's a fan of the Flyers. He actually became a fan of the Flyers when he moved to Philadelphia because he was a Sixer. And he started rooting for the Flyers, and especially Ron Hextall. And who didn't love Ron Hextall back in the day? And he watched him back in the heyday, back when Hexy came over as a rookie, because he started on the Sixers, I believe it says, in 19 1984, he started with the Sixers, and the Flyers just so happened to have Hexie in 1986. So you got to watch all of Hexie's career with the Flyers. So that's great, man. That's what I wish I could. I wish if I had a time machine, I could go back and watch Hexie back in his heyday, man. Just see him just beat the crap out of people left and right, back and forth.
Just access my mind.
Oh, man.
What was that line from Total Recall? Free your mind. No. But yeah, one day we'll be able to download our memories and our dreams. That'll be great.
Yeah, one day. That would be nice. That would be very, very nice if that could work.
Right.
Because, hell, Hexie was still kicking ass and taking names back when he was getting into the older twilight of his career back in the 90s, man. You go back and watch those games between them and the Buffalo Sabres, man. That was some great games right there. Man, I miss those games. Why do we not have brawls in the NHL anymore? Seriously, I'm sorry. I know I've been an advocate for it. I'm a broken record. Brawls need to be back in the NHL. Why? Because it was exciting, damn it.
Right.
It was really fucking exciting. I want brawls back. To hell with this. I mean, yeah, it's great to watch finesse play. I love watching that as much as the next guy. But that's what the international plays for. Let's see some brawls, damn it. I want to see some hard hitting, take your bare fist and put it right into somebody's mouth and knock out some teeth action. That's what I want to see.
Right in the toothesons.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But anyway, anything else you got to say, Ralph?
Yeah, I want to get back to your point. I did have more to say about Knobloch. Just to sum up, he said, he's glad to be here coaching on the NHL level, but not only that, having an opportunity, but also, I'm paraphrasing here, being able to work under Ron Hextall and Dave Haxtall, who he has a lot of respect for. So great situation, a lot of accolades. This is a great addition to the Flyers coaching staff. I kind of nipped that story in the bud because I like the story you kind of brought up about Ovechkin to the Ducks, talks into this apparent offer that the Calgary Flames are hot for teacher. I know you have a little something about that in terms of them pursuing the Ovi one.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. The trade's not bad, oddly enough. You're giving up a little bit of decent play for him, but I like the offer. It's a smart move.
It was Sam Bennett and who and 2 picks?
It was 2 picks. Hold on a quick second. Let me just bring that up one last moment here because I had it and I clicked off of it because, I'm smart like that. Anyway.
Hey, dude. I do that like 80 times a show.
But anyway, let me see here.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll tell you about Scanzano Sports Center. If you're looking to get your game in shape, there's no better place. Check them out, scanzanosports.com. If you still have unresolved tax issues, contact the boys at Gibson Mayer, gibsonmayer.com. Soapstash.com. Like you heard Maddie read in the first segment, if you're just joining us, the best natural soap in the business. Facebook, Soapstash LLC, soapstash.com. They are the new soap standard.
Yeah, that is right. All right, here we go.
Mick Foley's got nothing on me.
Right here, a Mountie from New Jersey.
Yes.
But anyway.
Yeah, I should have said that. Damn it.
As we are heading into this trade here, we got the Calgary Flames who offered the Capitals defenseman Oliver Killington, center Sam Bennett, and 2 first-round draft choices for Alexander Ovechkin.
See, I'm not familiar with Killington. I'll be the first one to admit that. I'm not familiar with his game. Obviously, he's got to be somewhat of a stud to even make this trade logical. Sam Bennett's a solid number 2 center, maybe number 3 center, and 2 picks. To me, I don't think it's enough. I mean, Ovechkin's a 50-goal. He's got the stigma of not being able to win the big one, not being able to win in the playoffs. But you're talking a guy that scored, 5 straight 50-goal seasons, something to that effect?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. He's the superstar caliber Alexander Ovechkin. I mean, the Sam Bennett one's not bad, but I would have said Sean Monahan would have been the one I would have put up in the trade block personally.
But they're not going to trade Monahan.
No, they're not going to trade Monahan, and they're not going to trade Johnny Hockey neither. But, I mean, it's still not a bad trade, though, because when you think about it, they are looking to lock down TJ Oshie. So it's not like the team's planning on blowing up the franchise. Mm-hmm. Albeit, though, trading Ovechkin might as well be considered that.
You don't think they're blowing it up? They're not blowing it up.
No, because I think if they would let Oshie walk if they were really planning on doing that.
And they're pursuing re-signing him?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I mean, Daly has, off the mic, has reportedly said, now this is reported, that it is a done, but it's not officially done yet. So we'll see what that means come free agency re-signing time. But if they are looking to try and lock down Oshie, that means they're pretty much not planning on blowing this up. You know, if they really were, they were willing to get rid of Oshie. Shattenkirk's going to walk no matter what. But, you know, if you trade Ovechkin away and you get some talent in return, which you will get talent in return, and you could plug it around Oshie and Johansson and Backstrom, you still don't have a bad team right there. I mean, sure, you have an Ovechkin-less team,
Right.
but is that necessarily the worst thing in the world?
Oh, maybe not. Maybe that's how they're not blowing it up. Maybe Ovechkin is just that cancerous for the locker room, not something we're not seeing here. And, I mean, he did stir up the pot a lot for poor play in this playoffs. But all that being said, that's what's fresh in our minds right now, and maybe even considering a deal like this. But let's look back at his career. Now, I was wrong. It was 4 50-goal seasons out of 5 to start off his career. He had 52 goals as a rookie, had 46, 4 away from 50 in his sophomore campaign, and then put up 65, 56, and 50 in consecutive seasons, and then had another 3-year run from 2013 to 2016, reclaiming former 50-goal scoring ability. This is a guy that's got 558 goals and 1,035 points, and you're trading Sam Bennett, a guy I've never heard of, and 2 picks. It's not enough. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not enough unless the Capitals are that desperate to get Ovechkin out of town.
I mean, well, I do hear what you're saying on that one. It's interesting because, you know, that trade with Ovechkin, man, there's a lot of, you know, things. There's a lot of ins and outs that you got to consider here for him. But you know what? With that being said, I'm going to say we do this next week. We go down, since the Stanley Cup Finals will most likely be over unless we have a Game 7 that is prolonged until the time before forever.
Mm-hmm.
The Stanley Cup Finals will most likely be over by then. And we'll be talking about end-of-the-year awards and everything like that. But one thing we can talk about is, out of all 31 teams, who will most likely land? Who could most likely land Alexander Ovechkin? Who has enough in their toy chest to throw at Washington and say, here, you can have him, you can have him, you can have him, you just give us Ovechkin. Straight up.
Right. Absolutely, man. We'll definitely see. Yeah, we'll get Brian involved in that conversation and put a thumbtack in the Ovechkin story, unless he does actually get traded from now till next week, which probably he'll get traded the minute we sign off. That's usually how it goes.
The deal with Calgary will be official.
One last thing before we hit the break in terms of around the league, another coach signing. I was kind of filibustering, seeing if Brian might have wanted to chime in on this, but his Ducks have signed head coach Randy Carlyle to a 1-year contract extension, good through the 2018-19 season. Personally, I like that. I like the idea. You go with Carlisle, and you want to know why? Because it's not necessarily his fault. And he snapped the Game 7 losing streak. I'm just shocked they're only giving him a 1-year extension. I thought they'd give him a little bit more than that. But you know what? They're doing a trial period. They're going to see if Carlisle is the answer they're looking for, and if not, they're going to go with somebody else. Especially since this is his second stint with the Ducks, right?
And he won the Cup with them.
To only extend him 1 year, I agree with you, man. That's pretty shoddy. I mean, maybe it makes sense business-wise. Maybe it makes sense financial-wise. Maybe it makes sense because of what you said. They're not 100% confident that he's the guy that's going to take him to the next level, but I think that speaks a little bit about the Anaheim organization. I'm sorry, Brian, but that's not taking care of your guys. But in Philadelphia, we take care of our guys a little too much. So who am I to say?
Yeah, it's those ties with the mob, man. That's what it does. But anyway, we take care of you. We take care of the family. But anyway, when we come back, we'll go back to the Stanley Cup Finals, and we will give our predictions and our official analysis of what Game 5 will be and what we will see at the end of the day. Who will win Game 5? Will it be the Pens, the defending Cup champs, or will it be the underdog, Nashville Catfish Wheeling Predators? We will see on the other side. But first, let's talk about Liberty Event Rentals. They're located in 2154 East Cambridge Street in Philadelphia, PA. Give them a call, 267-314-7368. They got tables, chairs, tents, linens, anything for your party or event needs. If you got any kind of holiday celebrations coming up, or if you got any kind of holidays, anything going on, or any parties you want to go for, go to Liberty Event Rentals. You can also find them on the web at www.libertyeventrentals.com. This is the Hockey Happy Hour on A2DRadio.com, and we will see you right after this on A2DRadio.com.
Hey, do you need to get your skills in shape? Then contact the Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com. John Scanzano offers individual, semi-private, and team training lessons in hitting, pitching, catching, outfield, along with turf rentals. The Scanzano Sports Center is equipped with a 31,000 square foot indoor facility, 4 batting cages, and a 4,000 square foot strengthening and conditioning room. So what are you waiting for? Contact the Scanzano Sports Center today.
Fellas, you ever come in from that baseball or football game and your woman won't come near you because you stink beyond belief? Then you need Soap Stash. You should never settle for a generic hygiene product that only covers up the stench. Treat your skin with the best nutrients. Feel clean with the only soap you'll need. The highest grade carrier oils are ingrained in all of their products, which are 100% natural and terrific for your skin. No sulfates, parabens, or phthalates, and synthetic fragrance free. Contact Soap Stash for your sample package and give your woman what she deserves. You can contact Soap Stash at 844-890-3197 or visit them on the web at soapstash.com or Facebook at Soapstash LLC. Once again, their number is 844-890-3197. Soap Stash, the new soap standard. A2DRadio.com is sponsored by the Sports Outlet for all your sporting needs. Located at 703 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, New Jersey. Give them a call at 856-939-2030 or email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit them on the web at www.sportsoutletinc.com for all your sporting needs. The Sports Outlet.
A2DRadio.com is proudly sponsored by Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants. Gibson Mayer, located in Yardley, PA, is a leading accounting and business consulting firm with a proven track record of handling critical issues with expertise across many different industries, including construction, distribution, hospitality, manufacturing, real estate, service trades, merchandising, professional services, and professional athletes. Give them a call at 215-369-3300. That's 215-369-3300. Your initial consultation is always free, and if you tell them that Tom and Mike from AM and the PM sent you, you'll receive 15% off all income tax services completed by February 15th. That's Gibson Mayer LLC Certified Public Accountants, 215-369-3300. 888-866-3300 or visit them on the web at www.gibsonmayer.com. That's gibsonmayer.com.
You're listening to the Hockey Happy Hour, only on A2DRadio.com.
That is right, folks. We are back on the Hockey Happy Hour. Yes. Yes. We shall delete all of those obsolete mules.
Penguins lose Game 5, they'll be deleted. They'll be rendered obsolete.
Yes, and then they will be asinine jackasses.
It goes to show you how tough it is to win back-to-back cups, and there's a good reason why it hasn't been done since the 97-98 Red Wings, right?
Yep.
I always wonder if that was the first cup or the second cup.
No, 97 was the first one, 98 was the second one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, so when I say 97-98, I'm talking about both years, so I'm good. All right.
Yep.
Go on with your read, Simon.
All right.
The mental anguish of one Rob Povia here on the happy hour.
The broken one, Rob Pove.
I knew you'd come.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hockey Happy Hour, brought to you by the BMW of Atlantic City, because we are in the BMW of Atlantic City studios here in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. Have you ever wanted the ultimate driving experience? Well, then go to BMW of Atlantic City. They're easy to get to, minutes off of exit 37 of the Parkway, and they're located at 6037 Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. Give them a call at 609-568-9200, and they are online at www.bmwatlanticcity.com. And now we will get back into the Stanley Cup Finals. We'll get into Game 5 predictions and what kind of analysis we will have going on into it. But first, do want to talk about a certain little comment on YouTube from David Roska. Hartford Whalers should come back to the NHL. David, I wholeheartedly agree. I 1,000% am with you on that one, brother, because let me tell you, who in the hell gives a flying fuck about the Carolina Hurricanes? Nobody. I will pretty much answer that question because I don't need an answer to that one. No one cares about the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are probably the single most irrelevant team in the NHL today, besides the Arizona Coyotes. Actually, I think they're more irrelevant than the Arizona Coyotes because the Coyotes actually have a pretty decent team that's doing a little bit of something. But still, at the end of the day, Carolina is so irrelevant. They can't fill their stadium. It's with enemy jerseys. If you are filling your stadium up with enemy jerseys because your team is that annoyingly irrelevant, you shouldn't be in the league. You just shouldn't be there. Arizona can't even do it. These are two teams that just should not be in the league. Seriously, just because they take away from your revenue more than enhance your revenue. Don't you want teams that are going to, I don't know, draw? Like, Carolina don't draw. The Hurricanes don't draw. Arizona don't draw. It's as simple as that. They don't draw money. You need teams that draw money.
You done with your soapbox yet?
Just saying.
Not that I'm disagreeing with you at all, but
I've said it 1,000 times over. You want something that can draw. And draw is not just a term that's used in wrestling. It's used everywhere. You want something that's going to draw money, for God's sakes.
Correct.
Arizona and Carolina are not one of those two markets.
Correct.
But anyway, with all that being said, we get into Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And let's talk about what we think is going to happen. After Game 3 and Game 4, Pittsburgh has been shelled for 2 straight games. On their side, what do they have to say to themselves in that locker room? What does Mike Sullivan have to say to his troops? What does Sidney Crosby have to say to his troops? Going into this game tonight where this is all on the line. As much as Game 5 is not going to see an elimination, it might as well be an elimination game because whomever wins, like we've said, is most likely going to win the cup.
Well, I mean, not only do you have two great teams in this Cup Finals, but you got two great coaches in Lavi and Mike Sullivan. So, certainly they'll be able to gear their teams up, especially with the extra day. It gives players that are nursing injuries a little bit more of an opportunity to get back in the lineup, which I figure that's one key storyline that definitely favors the Pittsburgh Penguins, getting a little more healthy as the series goes on. But still good for both teams. In that regard, but it does kind of kill Nashville's momentum that they build through games 3 and 4. Maddie, really what Game 5 is going to break down to, and the major key storyline here is which goaltenders are we going to get? Are we going to go back to games 1 and 2 that saw dominant Matt Murray versus shaky Pekka Rinne? Or has Pekka Rinne found his game and he competes at a high level and Murray back at home competes at a high level? Or will Murray continue to, I'm not say flounder. I mean, 50 saves, 8 goals, not terrible, but not winning you games in the Cup Finals. So can he improve a little bit? Or, if Pittsburgh if Pittsburgh loses this game, and I'm not saying that they are, but if they lose this game, do you turn to Marc-Andre Fleury in Game 6 based on losing this game due to what we saw in Games 3 and 4 from one Matt Murray?
Oh, man, see, the thing about it, though, is that both guys have shown the ability to be lights out. Both have shown their ability to let leaky ones in. It's just both are about as guilty of it as you're kind of trading tit for tat. You're not really changing much.
And I'm not hating on either of these guys. I mean, when you get to this point in the season, you've played a lot of hockey. I mean, you're going to let some leaky goals in, but this is the time that you reach back, you reach down deep in that body, in that soul, and put out that A-plus effort, kind of a la Keith Primo in 5 overtimes. I try to mention that once every show. But if they can pull and get that grit back in Game 5, then I think the Penguins take it.
All right. I mean, but personally getting back, but with the goaltending question that that you brought up, though, I would say, if I was Sullivan, I wouldn't go. See here. Again, that's a tough question because, you go with Fleury and you go with Murray. They're both about as guilty as the other of letting in bad goals, and they're both just as guilty of shutting them down. Now, you know what? I stick with Murray. And I stick with Murray for one reason, because Murray, Fleury can do the same thing, but I feel like Murray can still more is come up in that clutch save, I feel like Murray can do that just a little bit more right now than Fleury can. Just my personal opinion.
Right.
But, again, it's a tough question because you're really trading tit for tat. It's like Jake Allen and Brian Elliott. You're trading one for the other. Both are about as capable as the other, so you don't really know. You could go with one or the other. You go with the hot hand, basically.
Right.
It's the Neuwirth-Mason situation. Do you sit him? Do you start him?
It's not a shot at either guy. It's just using your depth. You got 2 starting goaltenders really on this team. A lot of people say if it wasn't for Marc-Andre Fleury, the Penguins wouldn't even be playing for the Cup this year. He filled it admirably when Matt Murray hurt himself before Game 1 of these playoffs. So, he's been a part of this as well. So I don't think it's much as a shot as if you were to pull Pekka Rinne and put in their backup.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, it's see, with Nashville, I feel like it's a little bit of a different story. I feel like Rinne has to be the starter no matter what.
Yeah, he does.
He does. That's a little different.
Oh, yeah.
With Pittsburgh, I feel like, you both have won cups, so it's not like you could say, oh, well, one won the cup and the other one didn't, which is irrelevant because both of them did. Just one won it in 2009 and the other one won it last year.
I had to look it up. The backup on the Predators, you say Saros.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's just too close to sorry, so you're not going close to that.
Yeah, sorry.
There's a reason why he's only played 16 minutes and 32 seconds in this year's playoffs. So,
again, it's hard. I can't really say, what Mike Sullivan would say with that because, like I said, it's the same as the other. You both are about as capable as the other and both are about as guilty as the other.
Sure.
So, it's just as simple as that. But anyway, Going into that, though, Penguins, basically, if I was Mike Sullivan, I simply say, you know what? They only won 2 games at home. Simple as that. I would just say, so what? They won 2 games at home.
You're supposed to win your home games.
Yeah. That's their job.
That's why we have home ice advantage.
Yeah.
If it continues, we're hoisting the cup.
Yeah. So it's just like, you know what? Don't take it too seriously. It's just 2 home games for them that they won. Big deal. Whatever. Right. You just move on and you do what we got to do. Simple as that.
Right.
That's what I would say as Mike Sullivan. Just simple as that. Don't make a long-winded speech. Just keep it simple, short, sweet, and to the point.
Right.
All right. Now, let's switch it to Lavi, who's more of a hothead out of the two. Although Sullivan was screaming a little bit more in Nashville than Lavi was. What a shocker. But Lavi going into this, the team's just won 2 straight games. They can build upon a win streak here. And if they can get a 3-game win streak strung together, they could very easily make it 4 and win the Stanley Cup. What do you say to your boys in that locker room saying, hey, guess what, guys? We are 2 wins away from the ultimate prize. We are 2 wins away from hoisting up the franchise's first ever Stanley Cup. You go down in history, and you will always be remembered for that, as being one of the first Nashville Predators to hold up the Stanley Cup.
Right. What do you say?
Yeah.
Continue doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? I mean, if it's not broke, why fix it? I mean, continue to get aggressive on the forecheck. Really leave leave a little space for their skilled players, Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, Hornquist, what they've been doing. I mean, if it's not broke, why fix it? I mean, I would just say don't buy into we can't win in Pittsburgh, because we can win anywhere, fellas. You know what I mean? When you have grit, when you have determination, you have a good core that are close together, band together, and take this road game just like you took 2 against Chicago to start off this playoffs.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you on that one.
And when it comes to Lobby, you got to listen to him. Man has taken 3 teams to the Stanley Cup Finals, which is one of 4 coaches of all time.
Yeah, and that actually leads me, great segue on there, Rob. Thank you. That leads me to this question. What is more impressive? Is it a superstar caliber player, say a Sidney Crosby, and he goes to 3 different teams, and he takes all 3 of those teams to the Stanley Cup, no matter who's around him, who's not around him? Whether he wins it or not, he takes them to the finals. Same thing. What if you're a coach? Say you're like Laviolette, and you've gone to 3 different teams, and you've taken them to the Stanley Cup Finals. What is more impressive? Is it the coach behind the bench that takes the team to the Stanley Cup Finals, or is it the superstar caliber player that is the champ player, that's the clutch player, that's the guy who can be a captain on any franchise and take them to the Stanley Cup? What's more impressive?
For me, it's got to be the coaching, and it ties me right into that point of Laviolette's only one of 4 coaches in the 100-year history of the NHL that they've been celebrating all year. One of only 4 to take 3 separate teams to the Cup. Now, he has 1 Cup on his resume out of those, well, maybe 2, depending on how this one works out. He joined Dick Irvin, who coached, I want to say, Toronto, Montreal, and another team. I don't have that right offhand. Won 4 cups, though. Scotty Bowman, of course, who coached pretty much everybody in the NHL, won 9 cups, took, I believe 4 different teams to the Stanley Cup, if memory serves me correctly. Detroit, Montreal, Chicago.
St. Louis.
St. Louis, thank you. And then Mike Keenan. Another former Flyer. Now, 2 of these 4 have coached for the Flyers, which that's a nice connection. But, of course, Mike Keenan with the Flyers, the Rangers, and what was the other team that he took him to?
Blackhawks.
Blackhawks, thank you. And he has 1 cup. So you're talking, out of these 4 guys that are the only 4 coaches to ever take 3 teams to the Cup Finals, 2 of them only have 1 cup to their resume pending this year. Dick Irvin, who has 4 cups, and Scotty Bowman has 9. It's not that often that coaches get multiple Stanley Cups as much as players have gotten multiple Stanley Cups. So I think it's more impressive for coaches. That's just my take.
I mean, I hear what you're saying on that one. I'll take the opposite side, and I'd say this. As a player, if you go to another location, a lot of people would deem you, okay, well, he's going to a new location. It's going to take a little bit for him to adjust. But you managed to take that team to the Stanley Cup Finals, and on your back, you lead them that way. Or a perfect example, look at Patrick Waugh. Waugh was the missing piece to Colorado when he took them to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Right.
He took them there twice, and he won both of them. Colorado has a nice little record. They're 2-0 in the Stanley Cup Finals, and that's in no small part to Patrick Waugh.
Right.
And that's a perfect example of a guy who went to that team and took him to the Stanley Cup Finals because he was the missing link. He had been with Montreal, and he had been a staple in Montreal for the longest time, had won 2 cups out in Montreal. He goes to Colorado, he wins 2 more. And other players like Justin Williams, who's been Mr. Playoffs. Now, he's not the captain of the team, but he certainly has helped, no small part, taking teams to the Stanley Cup Finals. Carolina, what other ones he's been on? Los Angeles, I could go on forever. He's been on multiple teams and gone to the Stanley Cup Finals. I find that to be amazing that a player can go from one place to another and just has that charm, has that ability to say, the Stanley Cup's going to find me. I don't have to find the cup. Mark Messier, another perfect example, wins 5 in Edmonton, goes to New York, he wins another one. That's impressive, just to go from one team to another and lead that team to a Stanley Cup.
Right.
That's not an easy feat to accomplish because you're changing everything.
Yeah. You make a good point, though. The players are the coach can put the best strategy out there, but if the players don't follow it, if they're not skilled enough, if they don't put out the effort, then they're not hoisting the cup. So in the end, it is more on the players. I just think it's more impressive with the coaches.
All right. Well, either way, though, we can leave that open for debate. And anyone who wants to say their opinion on that, feel free to. You can leave a comment on Facebook or post something down on YouTube if you want to. But anyway, why don't we get to the Twitter poll, and let's see what the fans think out there. Who will win, the Pens or the Predators? Twitter poll results before we go to Rob is brought to you by Gibson Mayer, LLC, your certified public counsel, located in 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA. Give them a call, 215-369-3300. Tax season was here, but be ready for next year. Be ready, be prepared. Get Gibson Mayer. So, Rob, what did the fans think?
Man, they're up in the air much like we are. 50-50. No deciding vote. 50%
right.
Penguins, 50% Predators. Still 22 hours left to vote, so it'll be interesting to see, do all the fans from Smashville come out, or maybe even just the people in this area that just hate on the Pens, or will Mikey Kleinkopf will get his Pens Nation voting in on this or whatnot to see. There'll be plenty of time to determine this, guys. The game is not tonight; it is Thursday night.
This is true. This is very, very true. All right, well, now it's time for our predictions before we sign off. And I will make my prediction right now. I'm going to say Predators.
You're going with the Preds. They stay hot.
I'm going to say the Predators stay hot, but they win a close game. OT. We see OT for the first time in the Stanley Cup Finals. Both teams go back and forth. Nashville, they get the tip from God, if you will. And they eventually go on to win in 6 in the Stanley Cup Finals. Rob.
I like the OT call. I really do. I think that's what this series needs. And both teams, they know, I don't think it's a novel point that we're putting out how crucial Game 5 is. They know it too. They'll both be firing on. And when you have two parties meeting head-to-head that strong, it's bound to go to overtime. But the Penguins have played well at home. They haven't had to face the Flyers, so that's why they've been playing well at home. And, I do think that it continues with the trend as games 1 and 2. I think the Penguins do win this game, but I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. I think Matt Murray comes back to life in Pittsburgh. Pekka Rinne continues the dominant play we saw in games 3 and 4. And I think this is like a 2-1, 3-2 overtime win for the Penguins.
All right, then. So we got an OT win all around the boards. I got it on Nashville side. You got it on the Pittsburgh side. And that is pretty much our look at it from there. So, okay. Wow. Game 5 is sure enough to be exciting, so I definitely would recommend anybody out there who's a hockey fan or just a sports fan in general, watch Game 5. It's probably going to be a lot more exciting than the NBA playoffs. Let's just be completely honest.
Probably. Definitely.
Yeah, the NBA finals, oh God, let's not get into that. That's like watching that's got to be like passing a kidney stone. Like seriously, it has to be. I cannot imagine enjoying something like that. But anyway, that will do it for this edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. For Brian Daly, who is here in spirit, the Dark Wing, who is here in spirit today, I am Matt Cinsuni, along with Broken Rob Pove, and we will see you all next week, Tuesday again, not Wednesday, Tuesday, on A2DRadio.com. And we will have more Stanley Cup Finals analysis for you, and we should have a Cup champion by then. We'll see who it will be. But until then, it's last call time.
Oh, award season's coming back up, too.
Award season's coming up next
That's my
week,
second
too.
favorite season, the wedding season.
Yep. So don't miss it, folks. That's next week on the Hockey Happy Hour. Once again, brought to you by the Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com. We will see you all next week on A2DRadio.com.